Have you heard of the Grease Yaka? Grease devils were Sri Lanka's very own equivalent to the boogeyman. Except the boogeyman was an urban legend. The Grease Yakas or devils, however, really did rain terror over our island nation. Grease Yaka, also known as Grease devils, are basically mortal men who are said to grease themselves up and prey on the innocent. They were often involved in crimes such as physical altercation, sexual assault, theft, and robbery. They preyed on women. This prompted all households in Sri Lanka to lock their doors and arm themselves. Sightings of the Grease Yaka first began in the early 2000s when both Moratua and Panudara were terrorized by a gang of robbers who would grease themselves up in order to easily slip away from police when caught. So those were actually the first initial sightings of the Grease Devil. Between 2010 and 2012, a new gang of Grease Devils was said to be unleashed upon the north and east, with rumored links to the government and security forces. Many of the Grease Devils caught during that time were said to possess military or army identity cards, and anyone who was caught during that era who possessed these identity cards were released under the pretense of their act of violence being a special training from the forces, sort of like an induction ritual. A former MP stated in Parliament that the Grease Devil insurrection in 2010 was a blood ritual, and that a powerful higher-up required female blood sacrifice in order to obtain the legendary crown and sword of King Dutugamunu from guardian spirits who reigned over Sri Lanka in 161 BC. So I can't say much on TikTok, but if you want to learn more about the Grease Devil sightings, who were responsible, this rumored blood ritual, and actual stories of Grease Devil attacks, listen to episode 10 of my podcast with Paradigm. It's titled Crimes of the Grease Yaka. The link to this episode is in my bio. Something I also remember from back in the day was how tough it was for hikers who would go into these villages to look for locations to camp. I recall one incident where 3 or 4 guys had parked their car elsewhere and had gone around looking for places to camp, and they were arrested because the villagers at the time lived in fear and they mistook these campers or hikers as the Grease Devil. You know, campers, they have equipment. They have their penknives, which could have been mistaken for a weapon of violence. All I can say is that people lived in fear. Have you heard of any stories from the Grease Yaka's reign of terror from the early to mid 2000s? Let me know in the comments.